Yeah, that's like one of those horror stories where it's like if you're a label executive or you're a music industry player, you have to understand that like people you're dealing with, the Christian entertainment that you're dealing with, you don't know their spiritual maturity.
I don't care how good your music is. Your integrity and who you are turn me off. I don't care, bro.
A lot of these people are not in churches, and they gotta be in churches.
Usually adults who've been doing this for 10, 20 years can't even handle this right.
Whenever the industry starts throwing their money into anything, I think we should be leery and be cautious.
So like, I like to consider this channel as somewhat of like a home base in regards to like my content. If you guys know me well, if you guys know my content, you know I'm a little bit all over the place, but it kind of feels like it's been a minute just posting regularly on what I would consider the main channel, the YouTube channel, because long form content is what I feel is what I excel at the best. I think it's where I thrive at, I find. But this year, if you already know as of late, you haven't really seen me around too much. For the main part this year, if you already know, I've been working tirelessly on like trying to create a CHH docuseries or documentary for artists, which has been one of the toughest things I've ever done ever creatively. And I mean, if you've ever talked to me in real life, in person, you'll know that like my other stuff outside of work has been like pretty heavy as of this year, I'll say. But in saying all that, it's not like I ever forgot about this channel, even though it's been like technically 2 or 3 months since I haven't posted here. But you know what I mean? Like we're still around, you know, I'm not dead. I'm alive. It's certainly been most challenging this year trying to consistently post here. I mean, I nearly lost every video file from my docuseries at one point, almost to the point where I wanted to give it up altogether. All right, guys, so I just figured I'd record this because I'm just kind of at a low point in terms of making this documentary right now. My hard drive has been corrupted for like 2 weeks now, and all of my progress is on there. This right here, put it in order for data recovery, and it's been in the shop for 2 weeks. So yeah, I figured we'll find out together if I'm just gonna scrap this whole project altogether or we're gonna continue, man. All right, so this is the laptop. This is the old hard drive. This is the new hard drive, which I was forced to pay an extra $250 for. All right, so we plugged in the new external hard drive and I'm gonna go see if everything is intact. All right, guys, so I pretty much went through all the files and they're all there except for one file, like this right here. Like all these files are intact. As I can see, everything is pretty much there except for one folder, which I spent a weekend working on out in Florida. That's pretty much all gone, so unfortunately, I'm gonna have to go and reshoot that. Yeah, that's gonna be a pain. Yeah, this is frustrating. I've been praying about this for the past 2 weeks that I would not lose any files, and 80% of the files I have are pretty much recovered, so that's great. But what's bad is, you know, I gotta go tell this artist that we gotta reshoot. We gotta reshoot some stuff, man. Yeah, this is frustrating. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at right now. And hopefully I can look back on this and document that it was a moment we overcame somehow. I don't know. But aside from that, I mean, we're still going, you know, God is good. If anything, this year and this experience with the docuseries has been more spiritual than anything, and just knowing and understanding that you really can't get anywhere creatively without your creator, no matter what you want to make. Though aside from that, I hope you guys are doing great. And today's video, I really wanted to talk about something that I really feel like different sectors and parts of CHH have been covering, but you know, we really, I feel like this topic deserves its own sit down, because I feel like there's so many corners of CHH having this discussion in kind of just like chunks and not really trying to assemble this and like really piece this all together. And that is the big topic that has been hiding in the shadows that nobody really seems to want to push more and talk about, which is the issue of stewarding both character and talent, or investing in each one.
and I found out how entitled they were, completely turned me off. I do not want to rock with you as a person. I don't care how good your music is. Your integrity and who you are turn me off. I don't care, bro.
It's ministry. It's not just good music. Right. And so there's responsibilities to that.
And we'll get to that main crux of the topic today, but I want to say this video was definitely inspired by Jared Sanders, who, you know, if you guys have known Jared Sanders, shout out to him. He's been around the space for, I want to say eight or so years, 9 or so years. Off the top of my head, I'm just going by, you know, his Rapzilla freshman debut. So somewhere around 2016, man. But Jared Sanders, he's been around. He's a great artist. You know what I mean? Being able to make music 8 years in. And about a week ago, I saw a clip that I'm about to play in a few minutes, but he had a pretty interesting take on this whole conversation about just like, not just CHH, but just the Christian music industry and capitalism, which I'll get to in a bit and what that all means. But I definitely wanted to just kind of like tap into that a little bit. But before we even get into all that, I definitely feel like this conversation needs to be prefaced with kind of just like where the height of where CHH was like a little over a year ago to where we are now in 2025. I mean, when we look back at last year, 2024 was pretty much a record high for Christian music consumption when you look at the data and everything. Mainstream hip hop, country, and all these other genres were merely just sitting at a 4% consumption rate, while Christian music was standing at an astounding 9%. Mostly thanks to Gen Z and the use of social media short reels. I mean, looking back, it was a great year for Christian R&B, which I mean, like, prior to that, many of these artists, you know, they were sort of adjacent to CHH and kind of being in and around that community, but with a lot of artists being able to break out of that shell and essentially form its own separate genre, discovering and seeing a lot of artists blow up last year was just amazing to see. So finding Sam Rivera, seeing J Manuel blow up with Caleb Gordon and their song Old Ways, and kind of just watching them ride that wave of momentum throughout 2024. Finding other artists with the likes of Lee Vasi, Don Reddy, and Young Chris. Madison Ryan Ward, which I knew of, but I really took a liking to last year and really got into her music. Christian R&B was no more under the shadow of CHH, and I don't mean that as a slight or anything, but you know, it really was able to form into its own thing and really spoke to a problem and issue of people wanting other options outside of the secular. People didn't want remixes of Christian artists, but rather a solution to a genre that was often played by toxicity and, you know, other stuff. But we witnessed a lot of that. You know, we got to hear full projects from people that we haven't listened to in nearly 5 years. Seeing a lot of new artists pop off last year, that was great to see. Seeing West Coast Christian hip hop take off on its own with the likes of Tommy Zuko, Iaja, and Josh P, who literally, I mean, being from Sacramento, I mean, this guy just like blew up with that one song, On My Way to Church, and the rest was pretty much history. Like, his song went crazy last year, but you know, him and a lot of other people were just a part of the blow up everybody witnessed surrounding Christian music last year. You know, it truly is and was the beginning of the Renaissance being here. Though being a year into it, I know I'm not the only one who feels like this, but we've seen this concerning shift so far this year around Christian music moving into the realm and domain of capitalism. Like, when I use the word capitalism, like, I'm using this term very lightly and loosely, or maybe not loosely, but I use this term like very lightly just because I know that's like a word that's very politically charged and people only use for social critiques of the system. I'm not trying to throw anybody off, you know, left or right, or the whole point is I'm not trying to use this word politically, but I do really want people to move forward into this video taking the word at its basic function, just because having capital can be a great thing, but obviously there can be its good effects and its bad effects to having that around. And I'll actually play this clip here by Jared Sanders to give you an idea of what I mean about that.
What do you think we are when you talk about how mainstream receives us now?
I think the jury's still out.
Okay.
You know, respectfully, I think the jury's still out. Whenever the industry starts throwing their money into anything, I think we should be leery and be cautious.
Why is that?
Because I think that anytime you start to see the industry dump money into what seems to be popular, a lot of times they try to tie people's allegiances to contracts to say, hey, we helped you blow up here. And by doing that, I think it's a dangerous spot to be in. I respect the people that are God ordained to do it. And I think that God is elevating people that are ordained to do it. But everything that glitters ain't gold and all money ain't good money. Like, there are some people that are gonna get over there, and there are gonna be people over here that see that and think, I should be over there. That breeds envy. that breeds content. That breeds resentment. Like, and I don't think that's good when you're talking about trying to edify the world by being made in the image of God through the art that we put out into the world. So it could be a good thing. I'm of the ilk that says be wise and wait. Like, we saw Kanye West blow up and we was like, yeah, he's a Christian. Look at him now. You know what I'm saying? Like, this can happen so quickly if we're not vigilant and aware that just because the industry's throwing their money into it, that doesn't mean they co-sign what we do. They could just see it as an opportunity. And if they see it as an opportunity instead of a ministry, what difference is that than anything else? We're supposed to be something different, right? I'm reserved. Like, I can't say it's for the people that are ordained to go there, great. I would just caution anybody else who sees them, don't chase them. Chase wherever God got you to go.
So is it one of those things we need to invest our own money and start our own platforms where we have the capital to start getting the sponsors, the advertisers get behind us so that it is centered and ran by our community?
I think that sometimes it's a little taboo though. Like, whenever you try to create a Christian exclusive space, sometimes the world or people that are overtly business minded outside of the world are going to look at that as like discriminatory. Like, why can't we get involved? Why can't we make money with you? Hey, come over here. We can offer more money. Having a community is good. Like, I'm not ever going to say don't do that. I think that Christian rap has made great inroads in that we have more labels than we ever have. Like, we have more infrastructure than we ever have. The point of entry is a lot lower now, so they can't be put behind a paywall or blocked out of getting access into the music marketplace. We just got to be vigilant in understanding our motives. I understand in theory why it could work, but why do we want to join as a community? Is it to cut the world out? Like, is it to build it so that we could do a business transaction with the world? Let it be like a pump and dump. And so the world is like, yeah, that's making a lot of money. Let's throw money. Cool, we'll sell it. Cool. Like, what is the goal?
Now, just as a side note, shout out to the guy who's interviewing him, just because he had a funny viral moment a few months back where he was pressing this guy who was complaining about gatekeepers and CHH, and that was just a funny video.
The biggest thing I would do is move some of the gatekeepers out the way.
Who are they? Shout out to the gatekeepers. No, because we keep talking about this and we need to know who these people is. So who do you want us to call out? Because we'll call them out.
It's not even a fact of calling out. It's just a simple fact of.
But if we don't call them out, how do we get better?
No, that's how you get killed.
Calling them out.
You think it's that deep? No, hold on, wait a minute. You think it's that deep in our space?
Yes.
And we say we bearers of the cross? That's why I'm confused. I want to make sure I'm hearing this clear.
But we all know, man, we in this genre. We know who the gatekeepers.
I don't know if I ever watched this, but shout out to this guy. I definitely want to meet him someday because he's a funny dude. But back to the video. Jared drew up a few pretty good points that I definitely wanted to look at from his clip. But for sure, like, the first thing that stands out to me is when he just talks about the fact that, you know, just because somebody throws money at you doesn't necessarily mean that they co-sign everything that you would do, especially when we're talking about Christian artists moving in the spirit based on where God is truly pulling them to go, and not fully around the will and interest of an investor who you don't fully know too well yet. Another good point that he brought up was definitely when he mentioned, you know, is this an opportunity for someone or is this a ministry? As we saw quite a bit of vested interest in labels showing up all throughout 2024, with just plenty of artist signings all throughout the space. Though with signing all these artists and the space just getting bigger, is this an opportunity to invest in a cash haul, or is this a real investment into ministry to better equip and empower these artists? Because in my eyes, Christian hip hop wasn't inherently designed to be this huge cash cow to just pump money into. It's a space that really requires a genuine interest and investment into a community of believers in order for it to optimally grow. I don't think necessarily that everyone behind the scenes is doing it for the wrong reasons. If we were to take a look at someone like Rodney Jerkins, you know, someone that hasn't given just their money in, but their time, their knowledge of the industry, and advice for a lot of upcoming artists. He's someone that's shown us over time what wanting to see Christian music grow can look like. And I know that he's not the only one out there, as I know that there just aren't bad actors in the industry. There's also just as many good and well-intentioned people out there. The reality of both good and bad industry people exist out there. Another point he brought up is just the idea of don't chase money, but chase where God wants you to go, as that can also be a bit of a great area when you're looking at not only your music, but also where God wants you to operate as a believer. And he also brings up the question of what is the goal of this? What is the goal for the artist? What is the goal for the A&R that's taking interest in you? Like, these aren't questions I'm asking to downplay the importance of business, but what Jared is essentially promoting here is the importance of doing things in the spirit of vigilance and wisdom, being responsible in your part as a believer. Capital, aka money, is a good tool to use, but the misuse of management with it and the lack of wisdom around it can be a dangerous combination and huge detriment to have for Christian artists, especially because this, I believe, bleeds into my main crux for this video, which is the issue of stewarding both character and talent. Should CHH solely focus on one and drop the other, or is it important to steward both equally? Just because this is an issue and problem that goes well beyond just CHH. Like, if you were to just take a second to look at what people want to call the quote-unquote Christian influencer space, we've seen a lot of big names changing a generation of audiences toward Christ. But along with it, we've also seen a big fall of every now and then ex-Christian content creators, often leaving behind an ugly yet needed track of conversations around the importance of prioritizing biblical fundamentals over having a huge influence and platform.
Man, I think the dark side of the Christian content world is convincing people that, oh, you're saved, so now you got to go make Christian content. That is a product for deconstruction right there. It's the second you get saved, go make Christian videos and all this other stuff. Like, when I first became a Christian, I became friends with a bunch of people that were doing Christian social media to any way, shape, or extreme form or whatever. Half of them aren't even Christians anymore. And I think there's that dark part to it where it's like we got so many people that are jumping into Christian content where they think it's for the sake of the Lord, but really it's just for the sake of, oh, now I got something to post on the internet, or Christianity's popular, so I'm gonna get my 2 cents from the bag. And it's like, well, not for the sake of your soul. Like, why would you? I don't want to sell out for my soul.
Larry Norman, regarded to some as the father of Christian rock, seen as a provocative and groundbreaking artist for being one of the first artists to have commercial success in charting Christian rock music, his music was reaching both church and secular worlds apart. However, in the same breath, toward the tail end of his career, many allegations came out about his reputation behind the scenes, as he would have a documentary titled Fallen Angel, made about his alleged conduct as an artist from multiple testimonials. And this problem isn't exclusively found in Christian rock either, as on the CCM side of things, Maverick City had its recent turmoil surrounding Norman Gamfey. And I know y'all know which interview I'm talking about. I'm talking about the interview he had earlier this year where he had a lot to say about the gospel and CCM industry.
Been on this run, we had 5 Grammy nominations back to back, number one after number one. We had, all right, why you want me to call these rappers? Because at that time, Maverick was some little chumps to me. Right. I'm the one who got the big artists. We running worship. What I'm calling them for? You got my old background singer leading your thing. Like, you know what I'm saying? I ain't calling because I'm thirsty now. Right. We killing it. You feel me? And I ain't no pride in, I'm just letting it know, just let me hit the story right. We went from this hype and everybody having access and everybody putting out albums now to either you sign a tribal or you independent. Maverick outstreamed every R&B artist, not SZA, Chris Brown, the who's who. And these boys selling out arenas. Dolo, 14,000 people. Can I find somebody to tour me that's not Norman? Oh my God, I'm so sick of him. La. Why? What'd I do to you?
The way he approached that interview truly rubbed people off the wrong way, and I mean a lot. I usually like to give people the benefit of the doubt in those moments with how they may communicate their thoughts and express them. But unfortunately, I would just be proven out wrong, as within the last week or so, Norman would watch Maverick City collapse as Naomi Rain and Chandler Moore, the core pillars of the group, would end up leaving altogether, as it was so far allegedly found that Norman was forging Chandler's signatures, misusing his position, and pocketing millions in royalties from various artists. And so the worship powerhouse that just took over the world with hundreds of millions of streams were deteriorating on the inside and heading for a federal lawsuit. And all this was on top of Joel L. Barnes, who left a few years ago, and Dante Bowe, who had quite a few questionable behaviors during 2022, but he took some time off, and I'm just glad that he's back to making music again. I also don't know if I'll make a video about this, but I've heard quite quite a few things about the management of Tribal under Norman. You know, I'm usually pretty reserved about speaking on certain things that I'm not too fully informed on myself, but Tribal's name has come up quite a bit in terms of how I've heard them deal with artists and writers in the past. I don't know if this is something that I'll ever touch, but if this is something y'all are interested in, let me know and maybe I'll make a video about it in the future. But moving on, the same problems we've been seeing persist in different Christian spaces is even seen in the Christian metal space. When we look at the legacy of Under Oath and its breakdown internally from some members like Aaron Gillespie and Spencer Chamberlain, two key members with different pathways who ultimately merged to the same conclusion to eventually renounce their faith and beliefs.
This is like a subject I love because I really grew up in this scene and it had a big impact on me like in the early 2000s. This is when like hardcore and metalcore, like screamo and emo, when these music genres and styles and subcultures were really starting to get a lot more exposure and kind of like develop fully into themselves. And Under Oath was like by far one of the most explosive. And they were on this label called like Solid State, which was the harder subsidiary of Tooth and Nail, which is like a Seattle-based, like kind of Christian-inspired punk alternative music label. So then Solid State was putting on all these like amazing like metal, hardcore type bands. And Under Oath's first two albums were like black metal. But then like they got signed and they switched to a new genre, more like metalcore, a little bit more accessible. And Aaron is like the only original member going all the way back to like 97. He didn't do one album, but he's the only original member who has like been a part of the group essentially the whole time. And so he does play like a monumental role. He was their drummer and he also did like the clean vocals. So not the screaming, but the singing. And he also like drummed for Paramore. He drummed for a couple other bands, drummed for a church. So he was really involved in the music scene and he had a couple of his own side projects later on down the road that were like softer. But after their third album, they got a new screamer, heavy vocalist, and their fourth album, They're Only Chasing Safety, came out like 2001 or 4. And that just went crazy. Like that opened up everything. Like everybody says that's like one of the most defining albums of the genre, of the style of that time period. Like everybody knows it, like girls, guys, people from all over. And they just blew up and it's an ultra classic. And those three albums and even the next one had like a lot of Christian themes. They were touring with Christian bands. They were open at their shows about their beliefs. And that was really exciting for a guy like me who was raised in a Christian household, but didn't really like fit in with that subculture and had like curiosity about like other things outside of the church. Here were guys that were doing really unique, groundbreaking things musically, but they were following God. They were, part of the faith, and that was really exciting for me. But as far as I know, man, after like their fourth, fifth album, their two main vocalists, like Aaron, the clean vocalist, and Spencer, the guy that took over like main vocal screaming duties, Aaron started getting like really religious, and he started doing softer side projects. He did a worship album. He did worship pastor at a church, even did some speaking and church planting. And Spencer, I guess, got kind of weighed down with like anxiety and drugs. And they're really open about this too in interviews. But basically during like that mid 2010s period, like anxiety and addictions really started to impact the band and their beliefs. And going along with this, I think that a lot of their Christian fan base didn't necessarily appreciate that struggle and didn't really understand that journey, and were a lot more like demanding about like, where's the old lyrics, where's the old style, because they're also changing musically. Every album is a big musical shift, right? Yeah. Like from the very beginning, like they were a very artistic band, adding new elements of development. People, especially like Christian audiences, were saying like, this isn't what I'm used to. And I think they lost a lot of fans, and they even ended up like breaking up around like 2015, 2016. But then they came back kind of with a poppier style and a lot more aggressive and explicit lyrics. Yeah. And they kind of like made that line in the sand, and they're like, we're over here now. Like that was the old us. And they're trying to like kind of retcon a lot of their lyrics and saying like, we were never singing about God. We were never a Christian band. And that's where a lot of like old school Under Oath fans are like, but you were like, obviously, like outspoken all the time. Like, yeah. And that's where I am as a person too. Like, it's okay to change your musical styles. Like people change their beliefs, their lifestyle, their habits, but you can't tell me like all this stuff wasn't what it was. Like grow out of it, don't discount it, don't shame it, and don't shame us for it being meaningful to us. I still listen to those albums. They're ultra classic. They still mean something. And so to hear them like do different music and kind of reject what they did before. It's a weird thing to do, in my opinion. And it doesn't seem like it has like a lot of honesty or integrity. But I think that they're trying to like really reshape their image too.
In the hopes of you guys watching, this chapter of the video isn't to just put a full display and exhibition of people's flaws straight out and say that we, the viewers, can be any better. The whole point of this is to show you just how important your character has to be as the space of Christian hip hop and just Christian music all around grows altogether.
There was some work that was done by the people that I was around that instilled to me that having character is the thing that will allow you to last and have a long time in any career. I heard one guy say this, it's like, if you guard your character, your reputation will protect itself. But a lot of people want to protect their reputation because their character isn't in order.
Yeah.
So when things go wrong, they're running around trying to do PR. No, that's not me. You know, you're trying to guard your reputation. But if you take care of your character, your reputation takes care of itself.
To close this chapter of the video out, I want to point out that people like to make the argument that Christian artists are like pastors, in which I would argue they are not the same. But even then, there's a reason why the scriptures calls a pastor to a higher standard, given that even being a pastor, that title alone, doesn't nullify them from the potential dangers of falling into character issues and sin all around.
People who, you know, because we kind of look to them as like mini Jesuses, you know what I'm saying? Because they can sing well or they can rap well, but because they're professing the name of Jesus, or like even pastors, like big pastors, you know, people got saved because they listened to Mike Todd or Philip Anthony Mitchell or Jackie Hill Perry or Paul Washer, and they're just like, okay, well that's T.D. Jakes, like, you know, they become your God rather than Jesus. And I feel like this problem it happens in every industry.
Pastors have to be held accountable by someone like their own congregation to uphold biblical integrity, as the higher you do go up, the harder you do fall.
Wow, it's crazy.
Though, going back to CHH though, we have to realize that it wasn't like this 10 or 15 years ago. I mean, looking back to the days of the earlier era, the space was much different. There was much of an emphasis on just theologically sound bars, a more adamant sense of scripture-filled music, and really having a sole focus on living out what you preach in terms of biblical conduct. You know, it was a special time to witness this music as a kid, but at the same time, I understood that there was also its flaws, which would eventually manifest later on into what we see now. Christian hip-hop at the time wasn't perfect in terms of just talent and artist development and just, you know, having a wide variety of artists to listen to. A lot of its negative perceptions grew nearly to the point where people and even Christians themselves would be turned off by the idea of even listening to it. It's still, even to this day, that I still see TikToks of Christians talking about why they don't listen to Christian hip-hop and their issues and problems with it. But then that brought us into where we are now, where we've seen a completely different switch, where there's a diverse pool of talent, tons of investment and emphasis on just artist development, quality, and just so much more. I would say that the last 3-4 years were for sure some of the best years I've seen out of CHH. But everything now going into 2025 this year, we've definitely seen a concerning shift around the conversations of, you know, out of what we see now. You know, while the talent and quality and music is there, behind the scenes, are these artists truly being discipled? Is someone in their corner showing them how to protect their character and not just the music?
Character is so big. Like, it doesn't matter how talented you are if you don't have the character. Our foundation is in Christ, right? Like, if you don't have a character of Christ operating and doing what you do, then all the talent in the world isn't gonna really help anything, and it's still it might get you only like a little bit as far as like you want to go, but it's not gonna take you the distance, because number one, you don't know how to handle certain things. If your character's like unaligned, you don't know how to handle if something does blow up. Like, where's your character at? Who are you really giving glory to?
When we look into this idea of just the new mainstream, I want to say Miles Minnick has done a great job at just following just where his true purpose and calling is. And especially with his recent signing to Empire Music, you know, it was a great launch to just see him take Christian hip hop to a whole new level and, you know, make a new recent album Via de la Rosa, full of features that we wouldn't have even imagined. Though with taking the signing on and having access to so much capital and being around different people in the industry, as much as I love Miles Mick and I want him to succeed, part of me at the same time feels a sense of concern to not want to see him fail. You know, the era of the new mainstream, will this work out or will this just explode? I don't know, but you know, one thing that's always been interesting about Miles is that he literally goes 100% all in into what he believes God is calling him into. And I actually got to chop it up with him over the weekend to get his thoughts on why he's so big on pushing this concept of the new mainstream.
So new mainstream, we coined that phrase just when God started opening doors for us to occupy mainstream spaces, right? Like out of nowhere, we're on Sway, we're on Big Boy, we're on The Radar, we're on Breakfast Club, Rolling Loud, all of these things, right? And it's like, yo, this ain't the regular mainstream that you would expect. It's the new mainstream because, you know, no longer is Christian music being tolerated on those platforms, but now it's being celebrated. It's being embraced. You feel me? And so we started running with that narrative and that phrase because it just kept happening. That just kind of shows you like what God is doing. You feel me? Like we're just being pulled in that direction, and we gonna stand on biblical principles. Bro, I was in Denver yesterday. It's a secular radio station. They gave me a live interview, mind you. They only do that with superstars, bro. A live interview. It wasn't pre-recorded, and they're just letting me rock. It was no parameters, no limitations. They just said, look, don't wild out, but let's just, you know, be yourself. I'm talking about Jesus, I'm talking about God. I'm keeping it real. They playing all my music, you feel me? I'm explaining the meaning of new mainstream, it's life for the soul, all of that on secular radio. That's what new mainstream is, standing on business on mainstream platforms. And shout out DJ Head, opening those kind of doors for us, and Charlamagne bringing us into the Breakfast Club. I don't care what nobody's talking about, bro. We sit on pure business on the Breakfast Club, pure business. But people just be, all right, you know what?
Yeah.
God is good.
Miles' explanation of wanting to reshape the narrative of how the mainstream glorifies the darker aspects of hip-hop makes sense to me as to why he would want to reshape and coin this term, the new mainstream. And also try to highlight how Christians don't always have to be just begrudgingly tolerated on secular platforms. There's a way to rewrite the narrative of hip-hop in order to highlight more redeeming aspects. Though in saying all that, as Jared pointed out in the importance of doing things in the spirit of vigilance and wisdom, one would definitely hope that, you know, he has the right people in his ear, in his circle, and that he doesn't just get burned in the process. But I definitely want to see him do great. Especially also because, you know, it's a concern as well for new and younger artists that arrive into the space each and every year. I think seeing a lot of artists come into the space and, you know, having an artist have a viral song, it's definitely great for them and I'm happy for them. But at the same time, who's providing the proper infrastructure so that these newer artists don't necessarily just, you know, fall into the pit traps, you know, of what we've seen in the past.
The thing that happens a lot of the time, it's not even the fault of the people, bro. It's that a lot of the people that are put in these positions, they're young people that haven't been discipled or haven't been in the right type of discipleship. So then they don't understand the character that they should have when they're a Christ follower. A lot of people come to Christ and immediately try to get a platform. And I've seen people that talk about it, like different influencers that are like, oh yeah, like that's something I did and I regret it and this and that. But I do think God could use anybody at any time. I don't think that there needs to be like this like religious hierarchy of like how things happen or anything. I think that God can use anybody, but I do think that we need to be wise and we need to steward what God gave us.
It's an issue that has to be solved on a case-by-case basis, meaning like each one has to reach one. If you're a Christian artist and you see another artist going down a path, you know, kind of take them under your wing, no condemnation, especially young artists. If I saw a young, like there's a couple young rappers I know, and I try to just keep in touch with them just to be like, hey, you know, ask them just how their life has been, not try to exploit them, you know, build a relationship, maybe make some music. At the end of the day, I want you to be strong in your faith at the end of the day. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness. Everything else will be added. Like that's the whole crux of this Christian music thing. Just do your best and let God do the rest, you know?
Are there people that are going to put the right things in place for the next generation? That even they have someone showing them how to work on their character as well as the music? You know, it's definitely something that I've not only seen around the space, but something that I got to work up and close with, you know, with this whole documentary thing this year. I think it's been a great experience just working one-on-one alongside artists and producers, and kind of just seeing just how important character is on their end and just how much hard they have to work on it in their own lives. You know, walking alongside them and just understanding that for them, they know that living what you preach is super important, just makes me all the more realize just how more important a video like this needed to be made. Ultimately, I think that this is an issue and topic that requires more of a breakdown than just one video. In fact, more conversations like this need to happen way more often in the space. But a solution to what we're experiencing right now currently in CHH is that both character and talent both need to be stewarded. The audience that wants to see more of what we saw in the earlier days need to realize that the solution isn't to simply just drop the stewarding of talent, quality, and artist development, as the lack of that is what I believe overshadowed the space and eventually overcompensated to where we're having these concerning conversations in 2025.
Talent is very useful, and we need more of it. We need for people to not ignore the fact that some of these people, and I'm not saying who, because I'm not trying to start anything, I'm just saying some of these people that come in, they are not that.
We were just talking about that the other day, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, and it's nothing against them, really. It's just kind of like people choose to champion those types and be all like, oh, well, they're just giving what they have for the Lord. They're praising the Lord. It's making them pleased. If you're not doing what you're trying to do in excellence, is it really pleasing him? Like, I'm sure he's happy to see it go down, but like people tend to like use that scripture to kind of justify what's going on, use that notion and justify what's going on for people who probably really haven't prayed too much about like what they're doing inside of it, and completely neglect the other scripture that says to do all things in excellence. So talent is important, I think, and there's a lot of talented artists and people in the space, but I would rather work with somebody a little less talented who has more integrity in their means, you know what I mean?
You can't lose yourself in that and then let that be your character, because a lot of people just make their art their character, and that doesn't work. I'd rather you have bad music and you're a great human being than you have incredible music and you're like a horrible guy, like, or a girl. Like, you know, I just really think that the character precedes everything else, because I think truly all that your art is a reflection of the story that God gave you. And if you can't love people won't ever understand what you're trying to feed them, which is love. This gospel, this message that we share with people, it's a thing that can't be communicated in a negative way. Like, it has to be light and light and light. If there's any darkness muddled in with that message, you lose it completely. People won't understand it. They never will.
The audience that wants to see more of what we've seen as of recent in terms of artist development and quality need to realize that stewarding character has to be prioritized before the talent, as eventually we just spiral around and just get lost and ask ourselves, what is even the goal of this? Like, Christian hip-hop has the potential to be a great outlet to just reach people with the gospel, or just provide a reliable alternative option to mainstream music for believers. But as it grows, it certainly has to have the right infrastructures in place so that we don't find people that are just making music for the wrong reasons. To the Christian artists, like Jared said, you know, what is the goal of this? To the people at the labels and events organizing the infrastructure, what do you want to see yourselves out of this? Because we definitely need more like-minded people proactively asking these type of questions in order to cultivate and disciple the next generation of artists and future listeners.
Yeah, that's like one of those horror stories where it's like, if you're a label executive or you're a music industry player, you have to understand that like the people you're dealing with, the Christian entertainment that you're dealing with, whether it be a singer or a rapper or what have you, you don't know their spiritual maturity. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got this person on stage speaking like to like all these people. Like, if I was a Christian rapper who started rapping as soon as I became a Christian, I know a lot of people like that, where they were rapping and then as soon as they became a Christian rapper, and just imagine if they blew up that year, you know what I'm saying? And now they're on like, you know, Winter Jam tour, they're opening for Lecrae, and they're just speaking to like tens of thousands of people. Like, I feel like that, like the amount of pride that can build up, the amount of like a haughtiness, or like, you know, all the sin that can come from that, the temptations that can come from that are crazy. And we need, like, I call them like vets. Like, every basketball team has their vets. You need people who are willing to come beside these young artists and say like, hey, like, or like maybe just go on tour with them. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll, you know, be there for you. I'll be kind of like a chaperone. It would be dope if you had those people around just to kind of I guess, watch over the integrity of what's happening on those in these things. And you know, this doesn't, if we think about it, it doesn't just go to Christian music. I think Christian music is obviously like a place where you can blow up big. But if I was a Christian businessman, like I got saved and now I'm turning my business over to God, my business blows up and it booms, and there's still temptations in there. So I think it sucks with Christian music because we idolize musicians a lot of times. We expect them to have a higher character, and we've seen that mess up so many times. Kanye West, you know.
Yeah.
R. Kelly, like
R. Kelly.
Diddy.
Oh, sorry. I thought you said like he was a Christian artist, and then.
Now, there's one artist in particular that I may possibly have an upcoming interview with. I don't know, just because we're playing things off by ear. Things may land, things may not. Nothing's guaranteed. But just from having 2 separate hour-long conversations with this person, this was an ex-CHH artist that pretty much saw the back end of it all. He's definitely an artist I believe that a lot of you guys can learn from, whether especially if you're a younger artist coming up. You can definitely learn a lot from his mistakes and just what he went through. And I think overall, it would definitely be an honest conversation for the space to have, to really show just the realities of what a Christian artist, you know, can look like. I think he has a lot of gems. I think he has a great story to tell, but then again, it's really out of my hands, and you know, it's really on him. But just from the conversations we've had, I definitely think that you guys would really enjoy it. But time will tell. Before I go off, I also got, you know, a couple Proper Excel videos that I didn't upload here on YouTube, but I did upload on Instagram. So if you want to see those, you can. I had a 2-part series at Holy Smoke this year. Y'all definitely want to check that out. And I also talked a bit about the whole Charlie Kirk incident that happened quite a while back, if you want to tune into that. But other than that, thanks for making it to the end of this video. Make sure you guys tune in. I know it's been a slow year working behind the scenes in the dark, but I'm hoping and praying that we got some big things coming up. So until then, peace and take care, guys.
I was doing math instead of doing math.
We join with the angels sending praises.